You think you know the internet, right? Google, YouTube, social media. But what if I told you that's less than 10% of what actually exists online? Yep, everything you see every day is just the tip of a massive iceberg, and the rest? Well, most people have no idea it's even there. Here's the crazy part. The deeper you go, the stranger it gets. There are secret databases, private networks, encrypted communities, and yes, an entire side of the internet that Google can't even touch. Some say it's dangerous. Others call it freedom. But here's the paradox. What you don't know about these layers might actually be the thing controlling what you do know. Stick with me, because in the next few minutes, we're going way beyond the obvious. By the end of this video, you'll not only understand how these hidden layers work, but you'll also discover what's really happening beneath the surface every time you go online. Ready to dive in? Have you ever stopped to think that what we use on the internet every day is just the tip of something massive? Picture an iceberg. We only see the part above the water, but there's a whole hidden world underneath. That's why people talk about the layers of the internet. Each one has its own rules, tools, and secrets. And trust me, it gets fascinating. Imagine typing chocolate cake recipe into Google. In seconds, you get thousands of results. That's the surface web, the visible, easy-to-access part of the internet. But here's the thing. Not everything online pops up on Google. There's a whole ocean of data that search engines can't touch. And that's where things start getting interesting. Behind the surface, there's a massive, complex world filled with private databases, academic papers, secure systems, and even hidden forums. And the deeper you go, the stranger it gets. But before diving in, it's crucial to understand how each layer works. And what comes next might just blow your mind. The surface web is the most familiar part of the internet, the stuff you use without even thinking about it. It's where you find social media, YouTube videos, news sites, and pretty much everything that shows up on Google. Sounds huge, right? Well, here's the twist. It's actually just a tiny slice of the whole thing. Experts estimate that the surface web makes up less than 10% of the entire internet. Yep, that's it. That's like walking into the lobby of a skyscraper and assuming you've seen the whole building. In reality, there are dozens of hidden floors packed with information most people never access. It's safe and convenient, but also limited. Search engines can only index public content. For example, if you Google best investments in 2025, you'll find plenty of articles and videos. But private banking reports, members-only courses, and confidential contracts, those live somewhere else. And that somewhere else is called the deep web. Think of the deep web like the backstage of a theater. The audience only sees the show, but all the magic happens behind the curtains. The deep web is where you'll find hospital databases, university records, corporate systems, and even your private WhatsApp chats. None of this shows up on Google because it's locked behind security and authentication. Here's an example. Every time you log into your banking app, enter your password, and check your balance, you're already on the deep web. Nothing shady about it. You're just accessing private data. The same goes for legal documents, internal company files, and restricted academic content. These things are off limits to search engines, but crucial for society to function. What blows most people's minds is that the deep web holds roughly 90% of all online content. Yeah, it's enormous. But don't panic. Browsing it safely is no big deal if you know where you're going. However, buried deep within it lies an even more secretive layer. And that's where things get a little intense. If the deep web is a theater, the dark web is a locked room behind it, and you need a special key to get in. It's part of the deep web, but it's not accessible through regular browsers. To reach it, you'll need tools like Tor or I2P, which give you anonymity, and open the door to sites that aren't indexed anywhere. Inside the dark web, you'll find private forums, encrypted libraries, anonymous communities, and yes, also some shady marketplaces. That's why it's earned a Wild West reputation. But here's the truth. It's not all illegal. Journalists, whistleblowers, and even human rights activists use it to communicate safely, especially in countries with heavy censorship. Of course, there are risks. Scams, dangerous content, and criminal activity definitely exist, which is why you shouldn't wander in blindly. Still, the dark web represents less than 1% of the entire internet, yet it's one of the most searched topics online. And understanding why takes us straight into the technical side of how the web actually works. Behind the visible and invisible layers of the internet, there's a technical structure that keeps everything running smoothly. Think of it like a building's infrastructure. You might not see the wires, pipes, and support beams, but they're holding the whole thing together. This invisible system relies on communication models like OSI and TCP/IP. The OSI model breaks the internet into 7 layers, from the physical hardware, like cables and signals, all the way up to the applications we use daily. On the other hand, the TCP/IP model, which is more common today, simplifies everything into 4 layers: network access, internet, transport, and application. Without these protocols, none of the layers, surface, deep, or dark, would even exist. Take WhatsApp, for example. When you send a photo, TCP/IP chops it into small packets, sends them across the network, reassembles them on the other side, and makes sure the image arrives intact. Seems instant to you, but behind the scenes, it's a perfectly orchestrated dance of technologies. And this leads us right into one of the internet's biggest challenges. With so much data flying around, digital security has become one of the internet's biggest concerns. On the surface web, antivirus software, strong passwords, and two-factor authentication usually do the trick. But once you move into the deep web, and especially the dark web, the stakes get way higher. People use VPNs, encrypted browsers, like Tor, and advanced security tools to stay safe and anonymous. Journalists investigating sensitive cases, for instance, often rely on encrypted communication channels to protect their sources. Meanwhile, big companies pour billions into cybersecurity to keep their private data secure within their corporate deep web. But here's the catch. There's no such thing as 100% anonymity. Digital footprints are everywhere, and even the strongest security can fail. Knowing this helps you navigate the web more consciously and avoid falling into traps. And as security evolves, so does something even bigger, the future of how these layers will work together. The internet we know today is constantly changing. The surface web is becoming more controlled by algorithms, showing us only what they think we want to see. The deep web keeps expanding with private data, AI systems, and corporate networks. Even the dark web is evolving, using new tools to make anonymity even stronger. We're entering the era of Web 3.0, where decentralization, blockchain, and the metaverse promise more security and freedom from middlemen. Imagine a future where your personal data isn't stored on giant servers, but spread across anonymous, encrypted networks. That could completely flip our understanding of surface, deep, and dark web boundaries. So, if you want to stay ahead, you need to understand how these layers work today. The lines between them are getting blurrier every year, and that opens up a bigger question. Are we actually ready for what's coming next? Crazy, right? Now that you know how the internet is really structured, you've got a whole new perspective on what happens every time you go online. But here's the thing. What you choose to do with this knowledge is entirely up to you. So tell me, have you ever explored the deep web? Would you dare to check out the dark web? Or does it sound way too risky? And if only 10% of the internet is visible, what do you think is hiding in the other 90%? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to know how far you'd be willing to go. And hey, if you want to keep uncovering secrets like this, make sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon, and turn on notifications. Trust me, the next video will blow your mind even more than this one. You don't want to miss it.